Hello, hello, hello. Are we there? Oh, we're there. How you doing? Welcome to another Q&A session. As always, I'm still sort of like getting used to the whole YouTube live thing, so you're gonna have to bear with me with looking at comments and the like. But yeah, I just wanted to answer some of the questions that I got from the last live stream that I did and what I've been getting since and stuff like that. So, hey, Mason Wallace, first one here, I believe. So, oh, and Zolster's here again too. Good afternoon. Hello. It's actually evening here. It's like 7 in the evening, which is, yeah, it's nice. Well, I say it's nice. It's been raining all day and we've had like a mentally hot last couple of months, and now suddenly it's just like absolutely pouring, which is quite nice actually, because it means that the grass gets the water. I kill anything that's like living. It's awful. So yeah, it's really nice to have a bit of rain. But yeah, Zolster, midday here. So tell me, where is everyone from? I know that Mason, you're from Plymouth, right? Because you're studying there, I believe. I might have remembered that wrong, but Zolster, whereabouts are you? If you're midday, are you on the west coast of the States? Yes, Mason. Yes, I remembered. I've got the worst memory ever, but hey, I'm quite proud of myself with that. But yeah, just tell me where you're from. It's always good to sort of like know where I'm sort of reaching, and it's always really interesting. It's like today I was recording for some artist somewhere in the States, actually, I don't know. I'm Michael. Oh, Michael Lopez. Hello, Michael Lopez. It's so weird whenever you get the names and the username and you don't know who you're talking to. So, Michael Lopez, San Antonio, Texas. I bet it's boiling there, absolutely roasting. Um, Mason Wallace. Oh, you're already starting with the questions, Mason. I love it. All right, I'm going to answer this, and then I'm going to go to the other ones. In fact, I believe that the very first one on my list of questions that I've actually didn't get to answer last time, the first one is from you as well. So let's go with the one that you've just asked now. If anyone else wants to ask questions, just put it in the chat, and I will answer it. But right, Mason, let me answer your question first. Were there any songs that you and the Darkness made, but it didn't go on the album Last of Our Kind? The short answer to that is, well, yes, but they became other songs. So Messenger and Mudslide started out as completely different songs, like absolutely completely different songs, but we reworked them for a couple of weeks, and that's how they came out. So it's not that they never got released, they just got completely morphed into different songs. So yeah, that's kind of the short answer, but they took a long time to kind of get going and get to the place that they were at. But I really like what they became rather. I'm very proud of it. So oh, Laurie, the 80s boys, far-flung Bristol. Oh, I didn't realise you were in Bristol, Laurie. Oh, great. Okay, cool. Why did I, for some reason, I thought you were in the States. I think I just assume any 80s person is like stateside, and I don't know why. It's because I've been doing too many tours around the States, I think. It's just my assumption, but there you go. Right, I'm going to get to some questions that I missed last week and that have been coming through. I say last week, I don't know when I last did a stream, it was over a week ago. But yes, some questions that I've had. If you have your own ones, stick them in the chat there. I'll bit back and forth between last week's questions and this, so just put them in there and I'll get to them. So, first question that I missed last week was also from Mason. He said, I've been playing in pubs and college gigs, but it must be different touring and playing in front of loads of people. And I love this, that you said this last week, Mason, or whenever it was, because it's such a funny thing. I still play pub gigs. Like, yes, I play big festivals and whatever else, and big gigs, you know, and with lots of people. Equally, I still play pub gigs. I still play in front of like literally a handful of people. In fact, I did a festival 3 weekends ago, and there was literally, I'd say, maybe 30 people there in like a field, so it looked really, really empty. But do you know what's really funny? Is that those gigs where they're like basically in pubs or whatever and there's no one there, they're the ones that I feel the luckiest at. Like, it makes me really feel lucky to be doing what I do. and that probably sounds really odd, but there's something really, it just makes me feel really connected and remember where I came from, and like, yeah, it always gets me really emotional, and like, it sounds really hippie and whatnot, and I don't really care, but I even go to the point of like just looking at my kit and just going, wow, there's so much that we've been through, and like just almost thanking the drums as well. It sounds hippie, I don't care, it's what I do, I get emotional, I love it, I just love what I do, and I'm so grateful for it. And it's those sorts of moments that I always look back on as well. Like, people ask me about gigs that I remember. I remember the gigs, you know, in a pub in Hammersmith where there were like 4 people there and 2 of them were bar staff. Those are the gigs that I remember. It's not really the big ones I remember, although my memory sucks. So that's probably why that is actually more than anything. But yeah, there we go. What can you do? Right, I missed one from Philip Condy last week, who is Philip is part of the Blue Fox Knights, who are a band that I work with, and it consists of this guy Philip and his friend Dave Albiston. I'm kind of making up how I'm saying that, but yes. And yeah, great band. They're from Scotland. And his question was, how can songwriters be more noticed in the music industry? I mean, obviously, I'm not an authority on this because I'm not a songwriter myself. The way that I see it being done is that songwriters will be writing with other songwriters constantly. I have a couple of really good friends. In fact, I'll give them a shout. John Green, who is like this incredible songwriter. He's been doing it for years and years and years. He used to play in Duffy's band, and now he's working, like, he's writing with like James Bay and all these like huge. Who was the other guy? Oh, the guy with the great voice. I think he came from like some X Factory thing or so. Anyway, he works with some really great people, and as far as I'm aware, all he does day in and day out is just write, but not by himself. He writes with other people, he gets out there, he's gigging, he's always making contacts. Oh, he did some work with Linkin Park as well recently. So random. Love it, love him. But he's like from North London, and I've known him for like years and years and years, but that's what he's done for years. So, as I say, this is just what I see other people doing, because I don't do it myself. I don't songwrite myself, so I don't really know. But yes, I hope that kind of gives some sort of insight on it. Sorry, I'm a bit sniffly because hay fever kicking up because of the pollen and the rain. But anyway, right, Mason, Last of Our Kind is probably my favourite Darkness album, and Permission to Land too. Oh, that's really cool. I very much appreciate that. I must say, Permission to Land is my favourite of their albums. Obviously, I can't say that Last of Our Kind is, because that would just be weird. Yeah, I think Permission to Land is a wicked album. There are some amazing songs on there that I used to love playing, like Black Shark was always amazing. Get Your Hands Off My Woman, I think that was my favourite song always to play. And then obviously the hits, I Believe in a Thing Called Love, You're Really Growing on Me, they're really great fun as well. So yeah, great album, really, really good. Laurie, intimate gigs like pubs bring you so much closer to your audience. I completely agree. I love the fact you can get eye contact with people and they aren't small dots in the far distance. I completely agree with you. Do you know what? My favourite gigs I've ever been to see, they're not massive gigs in arenas. I hate going to see those gigs. They're not, like you said, they're not intimate, and they're just, you can't get the vibe. You can get the vibe with other people, which is really nice, but there's nothing like being in a dingy club and just being able to see the whites of a musician's eyes when they're playing and seeing the little nuances of the communication that's going back and forth between people. I think that is just like totally priceless. And yeah, like I say, they are definitely my favourite gigs. And actually, funny thing, so obviously I'm a drummer, and obviously if I go and see a band play, I will generally kind of fix my attention on the drummer. And what's hilarious is that so often, especially when I was younger, not as much now, I don't think, it's because I've gotten older, but when I was younger and I would just be incessantly watching the drummer, other band members would kind of clock on to me staring at the drummer and then be like, well, hey, you're in there, mate, kind of like attitude, and just had no idea that it was because I was a drummer and I'm just watching because I want to learn. And then they might try and come and chat to me and I just, oh yeah, I'm a drummer, and then they're like, Oh, okay, that makes sense. So, but it's great. That's how I made a lot of nice friends. So it's all good. You know what I mean? But oh, yes, happens, doesn't it? Mason, you kicked ass on that album. Oh, thank you very much. Like I said, I'm very proud of that album. I'm so proud to have been a part of that. So that's cool. Grimmy X22 from Rochdale. Oh, I have family near Rochdale. I think I said this yesterday. Someone was saying that they lived in Chesterfield. And I said, oh, I think that I have family near Chesterfield. Is it near Leeds? And bless them, they were like, yeah, kind of. And I was thinking, yeah, it's definitely not. But is Rochdale near Leeds? Because I'm pretty sure that I have cousins there in Rochdale, actually. But anyway, I could be wrong about that. Again, my geography is awful. Right, what's your take on e-drums? I think e-drums are great. I think that they have their place, definitely. I started out playing on an electronic kit. I started out on a Yamaha DTX Pro that I got for like my 13th birthday, I think, and it was like the best day of my life ever, to the point that I literally fell over with shock and excitement and just, it was like the most amazing day. I remember really well. And that was a great thing for me to practice on. It was great for my parents because it had a volume control. Well, actually, we didn't have a speaker, so it had headphones, so even better. Yeah, so for that reason, it was great, you know, starting out. And actually, the reason that my parents got me an electronic kit as well was because their reasoning was, it won't lose as much value. So if you give it up, when we sell it, we won't lose too much money. And I was like, okay, great, but I still haven't given up, so there you go. So yeah, it's great for starting out, I think. As I say, volume-wise, perfect. I think it definitely has its place in modern music, in touring. I'm trying to think, there's not a single tour that I'm currently doing that isn't using some form of electronics. I mean, even when I was doing The Darkness, we were using electronics, and that's a proper rock band. I was still, in fairness, it was one sample of one song, and it was just a big sub boom, and you know, it didn't actually need it, but they really wanted it, so I said, yeah, I can do that. So yeah, I think that it definitely has its place. It's great for if artists want the exact sound that is from an album, if they want to do that live, it's perfect for that. Obviously, it has its limitations at the moment. I'm sure it will change, and I'm sure it depends on the player, but for me, it doesn't have the kind of nuance that you would get from an acoustic kit. It also doesn't have that same feel. There's something about moving air when you play an instrument, and obviously you don't do that because it's like hitting a rubber silicone pad or whatever. But yeah, I think that they're great. And these days, I mean, man, the technology has come so far in the last like 10 years. It's mental, what you can do and stuff. And yeah, it's so flexible. And obviously, if you're using it in conjunction with other things like Ableton or Logic or whatever, you can really do a lot of stuff. So it's quite interesting. So in fact, I'd be interested. Right, Grimmy, answer me this. Who's up the motorway? Oh, up the motorway from Leeds. Oh, is that Rochdale? Oh, cool. So I'm kind of right. Okay, cool. That's great. I'm pretty certain I have cousins in Rochdale. Okay. And I'm sure that I have cousins, by the way. I just can't remember where they live. It's terrible. I don't see them that often. So yes, my question to you, Grimmy, is what are you using electronic drums for, or what are you looking to use electronic drums for? That's kind of my question to you, because I'd be really interested to see, basically. Right, next, Mac, your name isn't Mac, Matt Black, 1972. I'm going to guess that your name's Matt, which makes me so happy because I actually can call you by your name. Matt. Okay. Do you still have the superpower of being able to turn red? Oh, yes. In fact, even if I just start talking about it, I'm sure that I'll be getting a little bit rosy around here, but I've gotten a lot better. But I used to turn red at anything and everything. I still do. When my superpower is at its height, if anyone that didn't see my post earlier, I posted up a picture of me when I was about 14, or I think I was 15 actually, doing a gig, and like my face is all red, and basically when I was younger, anything and everything would make me go red, and I used to be so self-conscious about it. It was crazy. And as I'm saying, like, I've gotten better with it, But there's certain situations that suddenly it will just switch on, and I'm like, and I can feel it happening, and I'm like, oh no, this is so embarrassing. But it's turned out that quite a lot of people think, oh, it's really sweet, or it's quite cute, and I'm like, oh, it's so embarrassing. But the times that it still happens is, say I'm in a group of people chatting, and then suddenly, like, the whole group looks to me to talk about something. It's almost like if a group of like 10 people were all chatting, excuse me, and then one of them went, Emily, tell me a joke, my face would just be like, ooh, the stress, and like, because I don't know about anyone else, but as soon as someone asks me that question, all the jokes that I've ever heard in my life fall out of my head, and yeah, and then I turn red. So yes, I still do turn red, and it's the most useless superpower in the world, but it's mine, so I must own it, because it ain't going anywhere. Laurie, you have family everywhere. How big is your family? I do have family everywhere. Not only do I have family everywhere, I have like adopted family everywhere. So I joke, but like every person that I've ever played in a band with or on a gig with, I kind of consider family, in that I would literally do anything for them. But in terms of blood family, I've got, yeah, not a lot in, well, a bit in the UK. So there's some in London, obviously. Up in Rochdale, some more up that way as well. Then some in Ireland. I've got family in Canada, and in Italy. In fact, loads of in Canada. For some reason, they really like it over there. And where else? I think that's kind of it. Like Canada and Italy, basically, for some reason. But yeah, like I say, adopted family everywhere we get around, us musicians. Right, what else we got? Laurie, what bands are you listening to at the moment? Do you know what? That's a great question. Not because that's a great question, let me tell you who I'm listening to, but it's a great question because, weirdly, I don't have a huge amount of time to listen to music that I want, if that makes sense. Because most of the time, the music I'm listening to is the music that I'm learning, and so I'm learning it, therefore I'm kind of intensely concentrating on it and trying to learn it and play it and blah 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 blah. But what that means is, when I'm not learning music, actually very rarely do I want to listen to music. So say I'll be driving in the car, I'll listen to audiobooks instead, or podcasts, or nothing. I just like listening to the road. I have a weird thing when I'm driving. I really like thinking. It makes it's quite a creative time for me for some reason. I don't know why. There's something about covering distance that gets my creative juices flowing. But yeah, but the most recent stuff that I've been listening to that I've really liked is Moses Sumney. If you haven't heard of him, go look him up. Shall I write his name? I'll write his name in the chat and then you can look him up. So Moses Sumney, there's one. Who else? Oh, Haunt the Woods, brand new band from Devon or Cornwall. And I went and saw them last Monday do a gig. They're really amazing. Almost like Muse meets Jeff Buckley meets Radiohead. Really cool. As you all probably know, I'm a massive Radiohead fan, so anything that sounds like that, and a massive Jeff Buckley fan, so anything that sounds like that is going to be good. Who else? Oh, most people know about this guy, but I'm still going to put it down because if you haven't, he's worth a listen to. John Paul White. He's amazing. He's one half of the Civil Wars. Check out his solo stuff. So he's done 2 solo albums, and they're both phenomenal. I adore. In fact, I adore all 3 of those artists. Oh, there was someone else that my dad introduced me to the other day that was really good. Who was it? Oh, I can't remember. I'll get back to you on that. He's a guitarist from somewhere. Anyway, yes, so there's 3, at least, that I'm sort of listening to when I do have the inclination to listen to music, when I'm not sort of like just trying to chill and relax my brain, because it's going at a million miles a minute at all moments, it feels like sometimes. Right, Mason. How did you feel when you got asked to record The Last of Our Kind? Did you ever get super nervous with the band? Oh gosh, sorry, it's all just jumped. And when you first hang out with them, were Mudslide and Roaring Waters and others already? Oh, right. Right, first question first, right? How did I feel when I got asked to record Last of Our Kind? Extremely excited. It all felt very surreal. And, you know, this was a band that I'd seen. I mean, I remember when I very first saw I Believe in a Thing Called Love, I was doing a rehearsal in a studio called Quo Vadis in East London, in a place called, it's basically up the road from Bethnal, oh, that's it, Stepney Green, up the road from Bethnal Green, East London, really scummy, but hey, it's fine. Rehearsal rooms, and we were taking a break, and there was a TV on, and then I saw the video, and I was just like, who's this band? And that's when I first sort of, and I just remember that moment, and I don't know why, there's not a lot of those moments that I do remember, but for some reason it stuck with me. So yeah, so I guess I was excited. It all felt a bit surreal because like they were just a band that I'd never thought about playing with ever. Because they're a band. I'm a session drummer. Those two things never mix. Like if there's a band, you don't call to get played in a band. Like yeah, to play in a band, you get called to play for artists. So it's not really on my radar. So yes, I was excited. I was nervous. It all felt a bit surreal. And yes, I totally got nervous with the band. Of course I did. When I first sort of hung out with them, I was like, it was more, was it nerves? I think I initially was nervous. And then I just thought, do you know what? Actually, this doesn't matter because, yes, I got this phone call. So if you think of it like a timeline, right? So I got the phone call. Hi, can we audition you? Can you come and hang out? Come and play the songs? And I'm going, yeah, of course I can. Great. So that was the phone call, and then like going down to actually do the day's audition, I was like, I'm a bit nervous, but then actually in reality I thought, do you know what, no matter how it ends up at the end, it's going to be exactly this, either it's going to be exactly the same as before I got the phone call, which I was so happy about because I was already touring. I was really happy. I was in a great place. So I was like, actually, it doesn't matter. And I think maybe that calmed me down in a way. I've never thought about that, but I think I just thought, you know what, the outcome doesn't matter. I need to just enjoy the experience. And it became more about just playing the songs that I had been playing in covers bands and heard on the radio for so long, just playing it with the people that had written it, and that became what the focus was about. It wasn't about, oh, I want to do this thing. Of course I did want to, of course I wanted to, but I also knew that even if it didn't happen, it wasn't the end of the world. It was just another experience, and that was going to be cool. But, you know, like I said, they did actually ask me to do it, which was really nice as well. But, you know, it became like a bonus, not the focus, if that makes any sense. It probably sounds a bit mental, but there you go. It's fine. It seemed to make me calm down a bit. And when you first hang out with them, were Mudslide and Roaring Waters ready? So Roaring Waters, yeah, that was done. That song, from the demo that I heard to when we recorded it, as far as I can remember, basically nothing changed. It was just, as opposed to programmed drums, it was a live drummer and everyone re-recorded their parts. And I love that song, by the way. I adore that song so much. So when I hear music, I see colours a lot, and everything about that song is like the right colour to me. So it all was very, very pleasing to my imagery, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so I love that song. And Mudslide, no, Mudslide was a completely different song. Like, you wouldn't have even recognised it. Completely different subject matter, completely different chords, completely different lyrics. So yeah, it was yeah, different song, completely different song. But I love that song as well. It's really, yeah, fun. So yeah. Prepared. Yeah. So all the songs were prepared to a degree, basically. Cody, are you live right now? Yes, I am. Cody, where are you from, Cody? And is your name actually Cody? I don't understand the YouTube application on my Android. It's fine. I don't understand the YouTube Live generally thing. Like, I'm just working it out, so don't worry, you're not alone on that. Matt Black spoke to you the other day about playing with Alistair Griffin. Oh yes, that was you! Honestly, the most random thing ever, asking me about Alistair Griffin. I did one show with him, which you happened to catch. So we did a live Formula One show. And in fact, I'll tell you a really funny story about that. So we did this random Formula One show where we were playing songs in and out of advert breaks, and they were all songs to do with cars. So we played like Who's Gonna Take You Home, we played The Chain, we played the Tracy Chapman song. Yeah, random, so random. And no one has ever mentioned it since, aside from Matt Black, who the other day was like, did you play with Alistair Griffin? So there is like footage of it somewhere, I'm not sure where. But the funny story I was going to tell you was, so, okay, my knowledge of Formula One is pretty minimal. It goes as far as my dad used to watch it when I was a kid, and the sound of the cars going around kind of makes me want to go to sleep, because that was Sunday afternoon. But I remember kind of some of the I was going to say players, some of the drivers that were there at that time. So it was people like, this is where my mind goes blank. Like Damon Hill, he was one of the main ones. Obviously Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard, Johnny Herbert, and yeah, people like that, basically. And in fact, I need to look this up before I say this story, because I might get this wrong, and if I do, then it's going to be so embarrassing. So I'm sorry if you lose me briefly. Hold on. Okay, yes, that's the right person. Okay, I was about to do a faux pas and just say it was the wrong person. So this fella walks in when we're backstage, just waiting to go and do the show or whatever. And he's like super duper nice. He sort of shakes all of our hands and he goes, "Oh, hi, I'm Johnny Herbert." And I was like, "Ah, I know who you are. My dad used to watch you. Amazing." And bear in mind, so there were like four of us, four musicians, all sitting around on a couch. And he sits down with us and he goes, "So are you guys like into Formula One?" And all of us were like, yeah, a bit. And then he's just like, okay, clearly none of you are, because no person who's actually into Formula One is like, yeah, a little bit. Either you are or you aren't. And then he just went, cool. And then he started talking about something completely different and just made us feel really at ease. Like, not just like, oh, you don't know anything, because so easily he could have done that, like, what are you even doing here sort of attitude. But he was so nice, and I was like, do you know what, that's a sign of just a nice person who just makes you feel at ease, basically. And it was so nice. He's such a nice bloke. Right, Cody, I am Cody, 78 years old, from Leicester. No way. And you are on YouTube. That's amazing. Well, kudos to you. I'm like less than half your age, but I don't understand YouTube, so you're doing way better than me. God, that's amazing. I'm well impressed. Mason Wallace, was it hard for you when at first when you first joined the darkness? No, it was just really fun. It was like being with three brothers, and we just hung out for basically a month. We all lived in Dan's house. His lovely wife and two daughters. He now has a son as well, but he wasn't around yet. They all sort of like left for a month basically and left us to it. And yeah, we just hung out. We would get up in the morning, we would have breakfast, we would go for a run, or I would try and go for a run. You know what? It's really difficult going running with people with very long legs, because you just have to run twice as hard, and I wasn't very fit at the time, and I was just like, what is it? No, I can't do this. I can't keep up with you guys. This is ridiculous. So yeah, so we did that, and then we would play all day. Basically, we'd stop for lunch, we'd stop for dinner, and then like probably finish each night around 10 or something like that, and then we'd sit and watch something, like some sort of program. I was saying the other day what it was. It was some. I don't think it was extras, but it was something like that. It was one of the Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant series. I can't remember, but it was just like chilling out, really. But yeah, it was great. It wasn't difficult at all. In fact, there were no moments really that were that sort of difficult. The only part that I found difficult was kind of, because obviously they're all very outgoing personalities, and although I might seem like I am right now, it's like I am in this sort of scenario. But when people sort of just say, like, if I'm not behind my drums or not talking about drums, I find it very difficult to be quite extroverted, which probably sounds mental. So that's the only thing that I actually struggled with, was kind of like being this outward person. I'm quite an introverted person, really. Again, you probably think I'm mad, but it's true. Right, Grimmy, thanks for the answer. I have an Alesis Crimson. Amazing. Alesis are just solid as rocks. mainly because of space and noise. Only my second kit, my first was another Alesis DM6. Do you know what? The other drummer for Howard and Kim still uses an Alesis DM6 sometimes. I play in an amateur rock band, he clay, small gigs, etc. Amazing. Well, do you know what? There's a lot of venues these days that want people playing electronic kits because obviously they've got a lot of limiters and stuff. So that's great. If you've got something that works for you and that you enjoy playing, that's great. That's the main thing. That's always my thing. People always ask me, what electronics should I play? And I'm like, well, what job do you need to do? That's the more important question. It's not about, the new flashy thing. Because sometimes the new flashy thing doesn't do what you need it to do. Simple things like having individual outputs. Some of them don't do that. Some of them, you can't load your own samples. That would be completely useless to me. So it's more about what you need it for. And it sounds like you've got what you need. Do you know what I mean? So that's great. Oops, I mean the clay. Oh, not he clay. I like he clay. It makes it sound like He-Man, which is always going to be good. Matt Black, again, do you ever sit there drumming and think to yourself, I can't believe I'm here? Constantly. Literally, constantly. Like I say, sometimes I get ridiculously emotional because I'm playing in an O'Neill's. And I'm not even kidding. And I look around and I look at the people that I'm playing with, and then I think about, it's going to sound so dumb, but this is what I see. I think about my 11-year-old self in the playground in primary school, so before I even got to secondary school, and just remembering the feeling of not fitting in, of being quite badly bullied. Everyone goes through that sort of stuff, and just not feeling accepted, really, because I used to play a lot of football. This was the other thing. So when I was in primary school, I was obsessed with playing football. I used to play football with all the lads, like, all the time. They were all like my friends, but they kind of weren't because I was a girl, so they were a bit weird with me. And then none of the girls liked me because I was always playing with all the boys, and they were more interested in creating Spice Girls, like, singing groups. And I was like, I don't get it. Like, I'm listening to Nirvana and Prodigy and Nine Inch Nails and Radiohead, and that's amazing music. Like, why are you pretending to be these girls? I don't really understand. So I just never really fitted in. So I think back to that 11-year-old me, 10, 11-year-old me, and then I think, and then I'll be in this present moment and just go, it was all right, like, almost telling myself back then, like, it will be okay, because it's really weird. I do remember this one image of standing in the playground. It's really so strange, but anyway, there we go. Right, Mason Wallace. I think Justin's guitar is literally so hot, the white Les Paul. It's a lovely guitar. In fact, it was his birthday in Ireland when we were over there, and I think we were in Cork. Someone told me the other day, and I'd completely forgotten. Someone had a cake made which was a replica of that white Les Paul, and it looked amazing. In fact, I must have a picture of it somewhere. I'll see if I can dig out a picture. I don't know where it would be, but yeah. Right, Mason again. I remember when I bought Last of Our Kind, and when I heard Roaring Waters and Mudslide and Barbarian and Open Fire, my mind literally blew up, and the album cover itself is amazing. Yeah, I mean, so obviously we did the whole recording, and I'd heard the demos, and that was cool. We did the recording, and then I went off. I had another tour to do. So, and Dan was left to basically mix and master the whole album. Bless him. Like, he's such a trooper. So the next time I heard it was pretty much the finished article, and I was exactly the same, especially Barbarian, because the way that comes in is just so, like, in your face, like, so much weight. I was just like, it literally took my breath away, and like I say, I was so proud of it. I'm still incredibly proud of that album. I think to be a part of that was a very special moment. And yes, actually, the album cover is amazing. It was done by, like, some super fan, I think. She just sent it over. Like, she just did this. In fact, no, was it? No, hold on. No, I'm wrong about that. Sorry, I'm talking about something else. What it was a fan had their baby put on some sunglasses and In a Darkness t-shirt, and that's what it was based on. That's what it was. Yes. Right, on a long tour, how do you keep your drumming fresh? That's a good question. How do I? Do you know what? It's tough. Do you know what? The thing that I do most to keep my drumming fresh on a tour is probably listening to music that is nothing to do with the tour. Because obviously when you're like getting to a show, the crew will set up or you're setting up or whatever, there's never going to be time realistically for you to just practice for yourself. That's a bit of a selfish, you know, you can't practice drums silently. Even on the electronic kits, they're still tippy tappy, and people are doing stuff on stage constantly. Like, for you to go, excuse me, guys, I need my time to practice. That would be really selfish, and I try to be very self-aware about things like that. In terms of what I do, I suppose just like warming up to keep me a bit limber, I suppose. Listening to music, like other music. Yeah, to be honest, I guess I freshen up when I get home, really. I just kind of accept the situation that it is, because I know that it's not going to last forever. It will be for, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then I can come back and just, decompress almost. Because you do get, like, especially, say, on the Howard gig, where it's pure electronics, it changes the way you play, fundamentally, for those 8 weeks or whatever, and the way that you approach it and the way you place things and all that sort of stuff. So when I come home, I will just put on my favourite songs basically and just play to those and get back to my centre and where I want to be as a player and the way I want to play as a player. When I next go out on another tour, obviously it will change again, but I like to come back to where I want to be, if that makes sense. But on the tour, I just resign myself to the bubble of what a tour is basically, and just work within those confines and enjoy it, and and just make the most of it. Really, I sort of focus on other things when I'm on tour. It's not, at the end of the day, I'm there to do a job, and once that job is done, then I'll focus on other stuff. But then once that job's done, and when I'm talking about done, I'm talking about in a day or whatever. Then I focus on the other things I need to be doing, which are things like making sure that everything in my studio is okay in terms of like bookings, and making sure that that's booked up for when I get home, and and getting content out there and things like that, like silly things that you think, oh, that's not important, but to me it is. And it might not be important in the real world and whatever, but to me it is, and I feel like it's making a difference. So those are the things that I concentrate on, and it's actually less about the playing side of it. But what will be interesting, so I don't know if anyone knows on here, I'm sure that some of you do, in fact I know that some of you do, I've started this accountability Facebook group where every day I'm doing a half-hour practice. I say half an hour, it's half an hour of playing and it's about 15 minutes of chatting, because you know me, I like to chat. I'm going to put the link on the chat here. So yeah, so it's every day. But what's going to be very interesting will be when I'm on tour. So I'm going on tour in October, and I'm going to be, well, I'm going on tour in October. Then at the end of October, for 2 weeks, I'm going to Japan just to go and mooch around because I fancy it, basically. And then November, we've got 2 weeks in doing a Dutch tour. So it will be interesting keeping up that practice routine. So Laurie, you might be seeing me exactly learning how to keep my drumming fresh within a tour, within the confines of a tour. So that'd be interesting. Hopefully my bandmates won't hate me for tapping on the bus at like 10 in the morning. I won't do that early. That would be unfair. But anyway. Right, here we got. We've got, oh my gosh, your name. Oh, wait, Mason. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm missing stuff. Right, okay. Sorry, I'm going too far ahead. I'm jumping the gun completely. Right, Mason. I looked inside, and you get the pics of the band members. I didn't know at the time you were the drummer, but when I did, I thought when you get a girl in your band as a drummer, that's rock and roll at its best. Oh, bless you. Thank you. I gotta say, So when I joined the Darkness, I was terrified of their fans. I thought their fans would hate me, like literally hate me, because Ed had been there for so long and he's such an institution in that band and everyone loved him, quite rightly. You know, he's the original member. Like, everyone's going to hate the fact he's left, and the person that replaces him is never going to be good enough. And I was that person, and I was like, oh, they're all going to hate me. But do you know what? Every person that contacted me was so supportive and so nice. And even when I left, so supportive, so nice. I didn't get a single negative response. I mean, I may well have done, I just didn't see it, which is fine with me. But the feeling was just like of real love, and I was like, do you know what? That's the sign of an incredible fan base. That no matter what's going on, they're there going, we support you, whatever's going on. I don't care whether you're in the band or not, you know, we care. It was lovely. It was a really, I was so pleasantly surprised, and I continue to be pleasantly surprised actually, by people like you, Mason, who just say the most lovely things, I must say. Right, Grimmy, thanks for the encouragement, Emily. My pleasure. It sounds like you're doing completely the right thing. Like I say, it's electronic kits. You just got to do what works for you, basically. Mason, Dan has a very unique rock sound. Yes, he does. Dan is one of my favourite guitarists that I've ever worked with, easily. I think his sound is phenomenal, and yeah, his ear is next to none. He's excellent. I'd love to do more with him actually in the future. You never know, one day maybe it'll happen. Right, I'm going to try and say this next person's name from Honduras. Right, Anaranja Doelectrico? Okay, yeah, that's just not good. Can I call you Anna? Is that okay? Greetings from Honduras, Central America. Love your work in the Darkness album. Thank you. Looking forward for more of your recording stuff. Oh, cool. Oh, your name's Brian. It's not Anna, it's Brian. Brian, lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm, as I've already said, I've now got my studio thanks to doing all that stuff with the Darkness, and it means that I'm literally recording daily for people, which is really nice. Today I was working with a guy called Brian, and he basically said to me, I need you to play like Levon Helm. And I went, you're my dream person to work with ever. So I've been having a great day. It's really good, aside from the rain, but hey, you can't have everything. Okay, so Mason, I watched a video of Dan in 2015 on Guitar Workshop, and when he played Barbarian, he said he's already seen clips on YouTube and they're all wrong. That's true. I was with him not long, it was either before or after that. In fact, was I? Well, I just remember him saying that, just being like, as soon as the song came out, people are already putting YouTube stuff up, and just go, and both the lads are just like, they're playing it all wrong already. And I just thought that's such a funny thing. Ice Skater 1989. My sister is here. So, very exciting. Not that anyone cares. Nothing to do with drums, but I care. So my sister's been on the road touring with Disney on Ice for the last 6 years. I think it's 6 years. Hannah, you can tell me if I'm wrong. It might be 7. And she's coming home for good on Tuesday. So I get to get my sister back, which is really cool. She's one of my best friends, one of the kindest people I know, and I'm very, 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 very excited. We're gonna just hang out and have fun and do what sisters do. I don't know what that is, but there you go. Mason, how do the Darkness record their stuff? Do they record drums first or the guitars first? So we had demo tracks, and so that's how we would routine them. So we just play the songs over and over and over again. They record the drums first, but Dan was playing with me when we were recording, but they weren't recording him. So he was just there for my benefit, I guess, just so we could get the feel right and make it lock and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, drums first, which is good. That's how I like it. Right, Laurie, the fan base has a lot to say about the band. I completely agree with you about that, Laurie. To me, respect is a two-way street. Again, I completely agree with you. The Darkness' fan base are just so kind, so loyal, wonderful people. In fact, so funny. Last year I went out with, I was on the road with Howard, and we were doing this tour called Retro Futura, which is basically this bill of like 5 or 6 80s bands going all around the States. And we must have been like the third or the fourth day in, and this fella comes up to me, and he's on the tour. I'd seen him kicking about in catering. He comes up to me, he's like, "I'm really sorry, are you Emily?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's an American guy, and I was like, "Oh no, this is someone that I know and I don't recognise him." And I get that a lot. Like, I have facial blindness sometimes. It's terrible, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm about to have a really awkward conversation." And then he just went, "I'm really sorry, but I'm just a massive Darkness fan." And I was like, "Oh, cool, okay, great." And he was like, "Yeah, I really like the album." And anyway, it turned out he was one of the bus drivers of one of the bands. And him and his wife, who came out literally like 2 days later, were just massive Darkness fans. And we ended up doing like a month and a half of touring, and they're like the nicest people. They're so sweet. And like, I'm still in touch with them. They run their own bus company. In fact, what are they called? Affordable Tour Solutions. I think that's what they're called. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, Sarah. If you're watching this, I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But their dream was to tour with the Darkness, and lo and behold, about 6 months later, they ended up actually driving the band round on a tour around the States. So I was like, that's so cool. I love it when that happens, when things like that happen and people are really happy. So yeah, it was really awesome, but they were so sweet. They still are. They're lovely. Laurie, where are you? I'm in a place called Harlow, which is in Essex, innit? It's basically 15 minutes out of London, if anyone knows or whatever. Laurie, no, I don't know what you're saying no to, but oh no, wait, everyone's saying oh no, but I don't know. Oh, did I go? Did my feed go? Am I back? Is everything okay? Oh gosh, that's so awkward. Oh God, did I literally cut out? I don't know what you missed then. I'm very sorry. I'm back though, so that's fine. Is anybody there? Yes, I'm here. Hannah, 6 years indeed. Okay, yeah, so my sister was on the road for 6 years. Oh, so my auntie Lorien is here. So, I was talking about my family and how some of them are in Canada. Lorien lives in Canada. She lives just outside Toronto, basically. Hello, Lorien. Hello, lollipops. She's like the best auntie ever. She's so cool. Laurie, do you need any change for the meter ends? Yeah, sorry about that. Although I should probably switch on the lights. Although I'm worried that if I do switch on the lights, maybe you'll disappear again. So maybe I shouldn't. Might have to just be sitting slightly in the dark for a bit. Yeah. Mason, what's your favourite album to play drums along to? I love playing songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age. That is a great album. I love that album. And that's also a great question. What do I love playing along to? Okay, so I mean, they're not very rocky, these albums, so you probably won't like my answer, but it's fine. It's what I love. So I love playing. What do I love playing to? Okay, Al Green, Call Me. That album is amazing. Steely Dan, The Royal Scam. That album is amazing. Another Steely Dan album, Gaucho, incredible. I love playing to John Mayer's Continuum album. I think that is just beautiful. In fact, there's a couple of his albums that I really enjoy playing to. What else do I enjoy playing? I think that's a good start. I'll have to think of more. Oh, I'll tell you what album I used to play to tons, but I haven't in ages. In fact, there's a couple of albums. Basically Incubus albums. So Morning View was one, and what was the one before that? Make Yourself, that album, that was really good. And then Muse's first album I played to incessantly, which is called, is the album called Showbiz? I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, Showbiz. That I love that album so much. I think it's their best album. It's my favourite of theirs. Yeah, so I think I can't think of anything else right now, but I'll let you know for sure. Oh, Playing to the Last Waltz as well by the band, which is an unofficial album. It's a live recording of the DVD of the concert, but yeah, love that. But yeah, I do love that Queens of the Stone Age album though. That is a really good one, but I just haven't played to it very much, I'll be honest. But yeah. Grimmy, what was your first band like? Well, my first proper band was the one that I got into when I was like 14, and it was literally, it must have been 2 or 3 weeks before my 15th birthday, and it was, so I decided that I needed to get into a band that was outside of school because I was playing with tons of musicians in school, basically everyone in school that played an instrument that needed to perform. I was playing drums. Either me or Charisse, or both of us usually, would be playing for them. And I decided that I needed to be more proactive. So I needed to get into a band that was outside of school, and then that was kind of the next step. So I went on to Loot, which was a website similar to Craigslist. It used to actually be a newspaper here, but in fact, most of the people here are from the UK, or have been in the UK, so they understand. So Loot, everyone remembers what Loot was, apart from maybe Mason. You might be a bit too young. It was like Craigslist, basically, or Gumtree. And I was looking for sort of drummer needed type ads. And there were a couple, and then there was this one, and it said that there was another girl in the band. And I was like, amazing, like, let me do that, because that sounds like a logical thing to do. Like, I'm a young girl, it would make sense to be in a band where there's another girl. So I was like, yeah, I didn't even look at the influences or anything, right? I just want to be in a band, I don't really care. So I went to this audition, and it was in actually, I've just realised I've got a couple of studios mixed up. The one I was talking about earlier that was called Quo Vadis is not called Quo Vadis, it's called the Vatican. This studio that's in Tottenham is called Quo Vadis. I'm pretty sure it's still there. So my parents took me to this audition, and I met the band, and they were very sweet. They were like in them sort of early 20s. And at the time I was like, that's not weird. Thinking back, that was a bit weird. Like, bless them. They probably were just like, oh my gosh, it's literally a child that's turned up. And I was not like an older looking kid. I looked young. Like, I always looked young. Anyway, so they were like, oh yeah, like, come and audition. I was like, okay, cool. And hadn't heard any of their songs, didn't know any of their influences, sat down behind the kit. They're like, okay, cool. And I just said, okay, I'll just jam with you. I'll just play along. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Turns out it was a really heavy metal band. And I was like, cool, great. So I just played along with them and sort of finished their song. And they were like, oh, that was wicked, whatever. And we just did this like rehearsal basically for a couple of hours. By the end of it, they were like, oh, it was great. Can you join the band? And I was like, yeah, amazing. And that was it. That was my first band. And we sort of did gigs around London on the metal circuit. And I met some amazing people. And funnily enough, so the girl that was in that band, the bassist, Nikki, she's still one of my very best friends. She's like the most amazing. She's probably one of the most inspiring people I've ever met in my life. And she inspires me literally daily. She's so amazing. So and I'm still friends with the guitarist as well. And actually, so we had a manager. He wasn't a manager. He was just like our friend that meant that he could come and hang out in rehearsals. He's one of my very best friends ever. Like, it's so cool. So that was my first band. It was just like this heavy metal band. We'd go into dingy clubs and play, and it was always the most hilarious thing because obviously going into like sound check, I was this 14, 15-year-old girl. And I could see all the other bands would always sort of like look at me like, what the hell is going on? But I never would sort of like say anything or be weird. My whole thing is, and always has been, like, let your playing do the talking. So I would just wait until it was our turn to sound check. And then as soon as I started sound checking the drums, I'd see everyone's face drop and just go, because I played loud. I learned very early how to play loud because my dad always said to me, no one's going to take you seriously if you don't learn to play loud. So I did, and it really helped. So people sort of took me a little bit more seriously, I guess, but I don't know. It's their issues. It's nothing to do with me. Laurie, welcome back. Yeah, sorry that I was lost. Sorry. Laurie, what bands would you like to play with? I would love to play with Radiohead. I would love to play with... I was thinking about this the other day. I'd love to play with Nine Inch Nails. I think that would be a really fun gig to do. I would love to play with John Mayer. I'd love to play with Massive Attack. I'd love to play with Portishead, although I think I'd be severely depressed for the whole time, but I'd absolutely adore it. Who else? I'd love to play with all those bands that I listed before, actually. They're really good. Oh, Leanne La Havas as well. She's actually a friend of mine, but... So I'll tell you a funny thing about Leanne. I met Leanne before she sort of like blew up. Now, I don't know if people know who she is. She's this amazing artist, the most incredible songwriter, incredible songs, incredible voice. Prince took her under his wing. Like, she's amazing. And I met her because she was supporting a band that I was playing with called Peter and Kerry, very last minute at this tiny, tiny venue, and she hadn't released anything or anything like that. And I saw her play. We met in the toilet. That's what actually happened. We met in the toilet, and I was just like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." And she was so nice, and I was like, "Oh, this girl is lovely." And she said, "Oh yeah, actually, I'm supporting you guys." I was like, "Wicked! Can't wait to see you." She went and played. There's a place called the Slaughtered Lamb in West London, I think. Anyway, she went and played, just her and a guitar, and I was floored. I was just like, "This girl is incredible." And you know, my biggest regret is not at that moment, as soon as you came on stage, not going, "If you need a drummer, please call me, I want to work with you." And I didn't. And I wish I had, and I still wish I had. And I'm not saying that I won't work with her, I'm sure at some point it will happen. But you know, when you just think, why didn't I? And it was because I was too self-conscious. I didn't believe in myself that much, and you know, I got in my own way basically. So I try and make sure that I don't do that now. If I see someone that I'm like, "You're incredible," I just go and say, "Look, if you ever want to work together, please, I'm here." So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but let's hope so. Matt Black, if you could have played on any song ever, which would you pick? What kind of a question is that? That's way too difficult. Do you know what? No, I'm going to give you the simple answer. No, I don't want to play on any song that I haven't played on that I love, because the reason that I love it is because of the people that are on it, and I would change the dynamic of a song. And I know that because I've seen bands before I've been involved in the bands, and I've seen them afterwards, and me being there fundamentally changes the direction of a band. And I wouldn't want to do that to any song that I love, basically. I know that's a bit of a cop-out answer, but it is the truth, actually. But that's an unfair question. Unfair question, Matt Black. Mason Wallace, what films are you looking forward to watching in the cinema? That is very random. What am I? Do you know what? I love watching anything by Paul Thomas Anderson, anything with Daniel Day-Lewis in it, although he has retired now. What other? David Fincher films I adore, so anything that David Fincher does, I'll definitely check out the new Wes Anderson one at some point, the Isle of Dogs. Anything with Robert Downey Jr., I think he's an amazing actor. Anything with Edward Norton, I think he's an incredible actor as well. Yeah, I don't know is the answer. I'm not. Oh, and any Star Wars film I'll go watch as well, of course. Mason, do you have any regrets? No. Although I regret not saying to, for instance, Leanne, you know, please let me come and play for you. And there's another guy as well called Cy Connolly, who is a very underrated underground artist. In fact, I'll put his name in the thing. Go check him out. He's like Jeff Buckley reincarnated. He's phenomenal. And I've never got a chance to play with him, but hopefully at some point we will. But again, I had an opportunity where I should have just gone to him and said, "I'm playing drums for you," but I didn't. But other than that, no. I'm a firm believer in things happening for a reason, and also making things happen for a reason, if you know what I mean. So making the best of whatever is happening. Laurie, great answer, thanks. It's all off the top of my head as well. Cop out answer, hilarious. It's a little bit of a cop out, but I like Laurie's reaction better. Matt Black, thank you very much. Venom looks amazing. Don't know that film. Do you collect things? Drums. I literally collect drums. You know, I haven't even gotten to the end of these other questions that I totally didn't get to last time and that people have actually been asking me. Right, put more questions in the chat bit, but let me just quickly run through these other ones because we're coming up to an hour and I'm sure you guys want to actually have an evening to yourself. Right, Stephen Baker asked me, if you were offered an endorsement of a different company, what would make you take it? For example, if you are endorsed by Zildjian and Sabian offered an endorsement. I think that this is a great question because it's a great example of the endorsement side of drums or music generally. The short answer of that, and especially if we're talking about Zildjian, is that I just wouldn't. There's nothing that any cymbal company could ever offer me that would make me change from Zildjian. And the reason for that is not just because they happen to make great cymbals, which they do, which really helps, obviously, and it means I can do my job, which is my number one concern. But Zildjian have supported me and believed in me long before any other company even looked at me. So I got my first sort of professional gig in 2008 when I was 20. It was with a band called The Hours, and lovely Tina from Zildjian, who is like an angel and just so wonderful. I've known her since I was about 14, 15. And the reason that I know her is because I used to go around to all the drum shows and go and chat to literally everyone. And basically, we had this lovely friendship, and she would always be like, "Oh, so what are you up to?" and just keeping up and seeing what's going on. Until one day, she used to even invite me to the artist endorsement party when I wasn't an endorser, and it's just so sweet, Until one day, she just turned around to me and she was like, "Emily, why aren't you part of the Zildjian family?" And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I didn't want to ask, and you haven't asked, so I don't know. And then she went, no. So let's change this. So she sorted it out, and she, from that early stage, when I was only just really doing something that maybe something that someone had heard about, she was like, "No, look, you're part of this family already." And it's very much like that in the drum companies. It's very much a family vibe. It's exactly the same with Vic Firth. Vic Firth have been so incredibly supportive. Not long after Zildjian, actually. Same with Yamaha. I mean, it helps that I've always played Yamaha since I first started. I've played Yamaha. But it's funny because you meet any drummer around the world. I mean, this might be just me, but I don't care. I am who I am. If I meet a drummer and I'm like, "Who are your companies?" and they say any of the same companies that I am, they instantly get a massive hug, and it's like, "Right, well, we're family. Therefore, like, whatever you need, just tell me, let's go and get coffee, let's go and hang out, let's chat," or whatever. Not that if they don't play any companies, I wouldn't do that anyway, because I just love drummers. I think, yeah, drummers are fun, and we like each other. We always have really nice really nice conversations. So yes, but anyway, the short answer to that is no one could offer me anything to leave companies. I'm there because I want to be there, and the reason that I want to be there is because the people are wonderful and have been very kind to me, and I don't forget that. I definitely don't forget that. Okay, so Charles Lawson, what is it like playing in front of a big crowd? It's great. It's great fun. There's nothing like seeing a crowd, like a large crowd moving because of what you're playing. That's pretty awesome. But as I said earlier, I enjoy playing in front of small crowds just as much, just for completely different reasons. So yeah, it just depends. I just love crowds. I just love playing, actually. That's actually what it is. Even if it's just an empty room and it's me and a bass player and a guitarist, if we're all feeling it, I'm happy. Like, it's just good. Right, I've got a couple of others here, but let me come back to the live thing since you guys are actually here live and it would be unfair to ignore them. Thoughts on Solo movie from Matt Black. I haven't seen it, so I don't have any thoughts so far. I will go see it, but I love Harrison Ford. I love him. So I'm going to be slightly on the back foot on that to start with, so it's going to have to live up to something for me, but we'll see. Stop it, I'm blushing now. Oh, bless you. Laurie, you're asking great questions. I love it. Oh, we've got a new one. BC Gogs. Who are you, BC Gogs? I know you said you prefer small, intimate gigs, yes. But what do you think of the Rewind North last week? That had to be the best retro 80s festival event venue. Yeah. So, whoever you are, BC Gogs, and I'm sure you're going to tell me what your actual name is, you were obviously there. It was amazing. So, last weekend we played this festival called Rewind in Cheshire. And the thing that was amazing about it, and in fact there's a picture on my Facebook page of it. So, in fact I need to... So when you look out at the crowd, it was like you had a crowd like that, and then it went up. There was like a hill, so it made you feel like you were kind of in like a bowl, and it just made it. It was like it wasn't even a sea of people; it was a wall of people, which was really cool. And yeah, the crowd were amazing. They were so good, properly enjoying it, singing along to everything, and there was this amazing girl who was like, she must have been 13 or 14, front row, front and centre, tapping along to everything that we were playing, singing along. She was there with her mum, and I sort of like caught her eye, because I love, if I see young people in the crowd, especially tapping along or kind of looking at me or Johnny, like the other drummer, I just see myself a lot in it, and I just go, okay, yeah, you're me when I was that age, just completely fixated. So yeah, and I got to meet her ever so briefly. Her name's Lauren McNally, and she, yeah, no doubt I'll be seeing her around on the circuit in a few years' time. I'm just thinking, should I go and switch on this light? I feel like it's getting a little bit dark. Is it? Yeah, I'm gonna spike. Hopefully, I won't disappear for not paying the meter. Oh gosh, is that a bit bright? Oh, right. What else have we got? Mason, what was your fiercest drum solo? This is hilarious. I hate drum solos. I hate them. They're fine to listen to other people doing them because they do them well. Drum solos scare the bejesus out of me. I am not a solo player. I am a supportive, accompanying player. I am there to play the song, and if someone shouts out solo to me, I get the fear put into me. It's ridiculous. So the quick answer to that is I've never played a fierce drum solo. It's something that I'm working on, but I just get inside my head, and I get all self-conscious, and I fall apart. Solos are not my forte by a long way. Right, Mason, what's the most exciting thing coming up for you? I'd say just the rest of the year gigging with Kim is pretty exciting. Also, I'm involved in this documentary about drummers, which is pretty exciting, which I can't really speak about properly, but yeah, what else? To be honest, I'm really excited about all this stuff, about like just chatting with people and connecting and realizing that I know I'm putting out all these videos and stuff, but people seem to be really responding to them, and it seems to be helping people, and that's a massive thing, because that's kind of why I started doing this, was to basically to help the version, that 10 or 11-year-old version of me that was in the playground that day, that didn't feel good enough for anything, you know. I want to help that person that wants to do this, and help them on their way and make them realize that they can do it. And I'm living proof that, trust me, like, you can literally do anything if you just put your mind to it and work hard at it. And I'm talking properly work hard at it. So yeah, so that, I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, Chronix, I'm the only kid here. I don't know, Chronix. Mason is 18. Thank God it's not awkward anymore. Chronix, you're 14? No way. Chronix, what is your real name? Because I can't call you Chronix because I'm 31 and I feel like an idiot calling you that. But tell me about yourself. Where are you from? Are you a drummer? Like, what's your vibe? Tell me everything. I want to know. Yeah, just tell me. Tell me what your thing is. Mason, stay young, mate. Hilarious. I love that a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old are going, stay young. Oh, it's true. We are all kids, Laurie. We are all kids at heart. That's what you got to remember. Musicians, we stay young. And living proof of that, I went and saw Levon Helm before he passed away. So if anyone doesn't know who that is, he's the drummer of the band. He passed away 3-4 years ago. 3 years ago. And amazing drummer, incredible. But when I saw him, he'd just gone through like throat surgery. He had cancer of the throat. He was very frail, but he hobbled onto stage, and literally the second that he sat down, it was like watching the last waltz. It was watching a 20-something version of himself, and it was the most incredible thing that I've ever seen. And yeah, it's just proof that music definitely keeps you young, so just keep playing. It's good. BC Gogs, I work with Big Country. Oh, amazing. Mark is amazing. That was so fun. Took the photo I posted on your page from Let's Rock London. Oh, amazing. Gordon, right? Have I got that right? I hope I have, because I'd be really impressed with myself that I remember your name. So please tell me that your name's Gordon, otherwise I'll be really sad. Yeah, Big Country were great. They were on before us on Saturday. And they were, yeah, they're wicked band. In fact, no, I've just realised, took the photo I posted on your page from Let's Rock London. Your name isn't Gordon, it's something else. Oh, sorry, I'm so lame. Grimmy, got to run now. Sorry, thanks for the answer. See you next time. Okay, Grimmy, I'll see you later. Mason, I watched a teaser for the Darkness documentary and you were on a bus in the countryside with the band while Justin is talking. Is it coming out? Do you know what? I don't know. That documentary started being made when I was in the band, so that was 2014. With an amazing filmmaker, by the way, and photographer, Simon Emmett. If you look him up, he is phenomenal. Such a nice bloke as well, and it was really good fun actually doing that. Like the part of the documentary that I'm part of was really fun. I hope that they portray me in a nice light, because they might hate me. I don't know. I hope not, because I really love them. I've got so much love for them. I've got so much respect for them, and yeah, your guess is as good as mine, Mason, about when it's coming out. We'll see. Oh, it is Gordon! Yes! Get in! Yes, I remembered your name, Gordon. Yes! Sorry, it's little wins like that really make me happy. Laurie, your channel, sorry, that is a proper personal win. Your channel is different because you're not just focused on the music. You talk about life, the universe, and everything. You are so inspiring, and not just for drummers. Oh, thank you, Laurie. I really appreciate that. Yeah, do you know what? My thing is, I'm not the greatest drummer in the world, not by any stretch of the imagination, not at all. I am someone that happens to be able to play drums for a living, and I consider myself very lucky for that. But what I realised was that people aren't talking about the mental side of things and the practical side of things and what you practically have to do to become a professional. And it's not just about the playing. There's plenty of people that are out there teaching how to play well, and that's great, and they're doing an amazing job. I'm not that person. I can show you that someone that is not the best in the world can still make a living, and a nice living, and have a nice life, and meet amazing people, and learn amazing lessons, and have hard times and have hard lessons. But yeah, like I say, I consider myself very lucky, but I need to share this stuff because I need to, like I say, I need to speak to that 11-year-old person that thinks that they can't do it, and I need to sit here and go, you can, because I did. I'm that person. And as I've said this many times before, I'm convinced that the drums saved my life. So if I can do that for one other person, that's me. That's me done. I'm happy. Mason, I agree with you, Laurie. Well, thank you, Mason. That's really cool. And again, so happy I remembered your name, Gordon. I posted on that thread that you posted the picture on. Oh, right, yeah, cool. Amazing fact about Mark Brzezicki, love a fact. He fractured his foot and broke 2 toes the day before Rewind North last week. Are you serious? What? He played amazingly. I can't believe that he broke his 2 toes and fractured his foot. How in the world did he do that? Did he drop something on it? Oh, poor thing. Oh, he's great though. What a great drummer. So, fun fact about Johnny, the other drummer in Howard Jones, he used to have a poster of Mark Brzezicki on his wall when he was a kid, and used to look up to him, well, still does look up to him so much. We were at side of stage at Rewind North watching Mark, and that's the first time I've seen him play live, and I was just like, wow, amazing. But what was hilarious was there's so many things that Mark does in his playing that Johnny does, that Johnny has obviously picked up from Mark over the years. And we came off stage and he was just like, that was so weird. I just saw so much of my playing in his playing, and I was like, that's so funny, I noticed that as well. So it's amazing how those very early influences can still like be in your playing so many years later. I mean, that was, in fact, I won't give Johnny's age away, but yeah, it was a few years ago. Mason Wallace, do you have a boyfriend? I'm not sure why that's relevant. Does he play drums too? Because that would be cool. I have a husband, and he is a tour manager, which is way cooler than a drummer, because it means that he's actually together and he can tell me where to go and where to be at various times, which is awesome. You don't need 2 creatives together. I've dated drummers before. We're a nightmare. I know I'm a nightmare, so yeah, like creative people, we're just a bit all over the shop, which is fine. But when you've got 2 of us, it's like, oh gosh. We're lucky to have you with us. Oh, bless you, Laurie. Thank you. That is 100% serious. I can't believe he broke his foot or fractured his foot. It's crazy. Mason, what would you say is different between you today and you back when you were in college? I never went to college, but back in school, I don't know. I guess what's different? I guess just I guess I'm a bit more confident, but only because I've had more experience. I'm just more experienced, I think. So when stuff goes wrong, which it does, like on stage, off stage, on tour, off tour, whatever, life, whatever, I have more experience to deal with it in a better way, in the best way I can. I've always dealt with things in the best way I can, but I think the more experience you have, the more stuff you have to go through and deal with, then the better you're going to deal with stuff in the future. That's not something that you can learn from a book. That's not something you can learn in a lesson. You just need to live it and go for it and get yourself into uncomfortable situations and deal with it and then learn from it. So yeah, I'd say just a little bit more confident. I still have my moments. Gosh, shout solo at me and I'll fall apart and become like another like 11-year-old. It's crazy. Right, I'm gonna go to these other questions. I've literally got a couple left because we're over an hour, and in fact, maybe I should let me just do one more, and then I'll leave the other ones for next time because it's pretty late. Well, it's not late, but you've been here for a long time. Right. Okay, so this one's from Wolfgang Stolzl, which is an awful pronunciation. I'm so sorry. So on your recording videos, at least those that I recently viewed, you use quite a lot of tape on your drums. I assume you have your reasons, but it looks a little bit strange to me. If you work on different recording projects with a wide range of sound requests, wouldn't it be easy to use some kind of muffle rings or other dampener pads which could be placed or removed really quickly rather than tape? Okay, so yes. Here's the situation. I love so I have tapes. I have gaffer tape on my toms. For anyone that hasn't seen, if you watch any of my videos coming out of my studio, there's gaffer tapes. They're basically in like a diamond shape. The only reason I do that is because I saw someone else do it and I thought it looked really cool, and then I did it and it sounded really cool. So I was like, great. The reason that I like dampening my drums is that I just love the sound of a dampened drum. My favourite drum sounds are that thuddy 60s 70s tom. I adore it. It is just what I love, and that's that. So the majority of people that come to me for recordings, do you know what? No one of them has said to me, I want a really open like tom sound. They just go, right, you do what you do, and then if they come back and say, you know, actually those toms sound a bit dead, I'd absolutely rip that tape off and open them up and totally cool. But I think a lot of the reason that people come to me for my recordings is the sound that I give them, which is that thuddy, big tom sound. So, the reason that I don't use muffler rings, which does make sense to sort of just, so the kind of, you know, the rings that you put on snare drums, you could put them on a tom. The reason I don't use those is because I've tried using those, but because of the angle that the tom is at, often they slip off during a recording, and that's not worth the hassle, because that means that you just got to redo the take basically, which is really annoying, and it just costs me lots of time, it doesn't make sense. So it's a convenience thing. It's because I like the sound of it, and if people do want more open toms, I just rip that stuff off, and then I can always put some more back on because it's just a bit of gaffer. So yeah, it's a lot cheaper than those rings as well, which are going to fall off anyway. Anyway, right, I'm just going to go for the last bit. You make it sound like a detention. We can stay all night. That is hilarious. Sorry, I didn't mean to make it sound like detention, but it's like an hour and 20 minutes, and the fact that 6 of you are still here is pretty impressive, and I really appreciate it. But I definitely need to leave you at least wanting a little bit more, otherwise you'll be like, I'll never come back. I've heard everything that she has to say and she's boring. Mason, I feel lucky to be able to play drums and guitar. You know what, you are, and if you're great at both of them and you enjoy both of them, that is amazing. I wish guitar made sense to me as much as drums did, because I would love to play, but I can't dedicate the amount of time that I know that I'd need to get to the level that I would want to get to, if you know what I mean. So I know how much work it takes, and yeah, drums, just one instrument is enough for me. We love watching you live. Thank you so much, Mason. Matt Black, thanks for this, even if you did cop out on one of my questions. I'll tell you what, Matt, come back next time with another question that I can't cop out. I will give you like a free pass. I'm not allowed to cop out on the next question. But if I'm sitting here for 20 minutes trying to think of the answer and people are leaving, I'm blaming you. Okay? Is that a deal? If that's a deal, then come back to me next week with like a really awful, awkward question, and we'll see if I can not cop out of that one at least. This has been a fascinating insight. Oh, thank you. I love hearing people so passionate about their music. Music is everything to me. Drums is literally my life. I joke, but I can't do anything as well as I play the drums. I've never loved anything as much as I love the drums. I've never been heartbroken as much as when things have happened in terms of drumming and music and stuff. And I'll tell you about that another time. But yeah, it's everything to me. It's literally everything. Matt, we'll keep you to that. Hell yeah. Hey, if I could virtually shake your hand right now, I would. Mr. W. Mr. W, how very anonymous. Thank you for answering all these questions. I definitely learned a lot. My absolute pleasure. Mr. W, if you can tell me where you're from in the next like 30 seconds, then I'd love to hear, because you haven't said a word until now. Not that I've seen, at least. So yeah, tell me where you're from quickly before I sign off, because I'm going now. I've got 2 other questions, but they're going to come next week. Oh, I wanted to tell you as well quickly. I've got so you know I'm putting out all the videos and stuff every week about different topics that I'm talking about within the music industry and how I've sort of gotten to where I am or whatnot. I've got a newsletter which is basically where I put all the videos and all the like blogs and all of the content and everything just in one email every month, so you haven't missed any of the subjects I talk about. So I'll put the link in here. You can sign up to the newsletter. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Oops. I knew that would happen. Hold on. Let's do this properly. La 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 la. There we go. Right, so go there if you fancy subscribing. You don't have to, but it's better to put it there than not. And then people go, why didn't you tell me? Laurie, thanks for Ems for your time, your experiences, and your love of music. My pleasure, my absolute pleasure. Thanks, Em. Thank you, Mason. And Mr. W is from Los Angeles. Hold on, do I know you? Do I know you, Mr. W? Maybe. Matt Black, no, don't go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna leave you to it. I'm gonna leave you wanting more. I tell you what, I'm gonna do another one of these next Thursday at 7 o'clock as well. So come and join me then, and we'll answer some more questions. If you have any other questions in the meantime, ask them to me on wherever you want, and I will answer them as best I can. And Matt Black, you better be here. And you better ask me some like awful question that I'm like going red and sweating and just going, oh my gosh, this is going to be career suicide. That is your task. Anyway, I'm waiting already. It's all right. Go have your week. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. And I will see you guys, next Thursday. Let's do this again. This has been really fun. So thank you guys for turning up and chatting. And yeah, you're really awesome. So thank you so much. And I will see you soon. All right. See you later. Bye.